Imagine being born with a power so dangerous that the world itself would tremble at your existence. A power that could destroy you before your enemies even had a chance to react. This is not the story of a normal hero. This is the story of a boy who could summon monsters. Every monster he called tested the limits of his soul. His name was Takumi. He was born in a small, forgotten village, lost to the maps of the world, yet the shadows never forgot him. From a very young age, he could hear whispers calling his name. Voices that came from the darkness, from nowhere, yet everywhere at once. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but the shadows started moving around him. They waited silently for him to awaken his true potential. Animals ran from him, sensing something unnatural. Birds fell silent whenever he passed. Even the wind seemed to pause in his presence. His mother noticed all the signs, but she never told him the truth. "Never call them," she warned, trembling. Takumi did not understand why, until one night the call came anyway. The moon glowed blood red, casting a cursed light over the forest. The ground trembled beneath his feet. Ancient monsters returned, long forgotten by time. Their eyes burned with fury and hunger. They destroyed everything in their path. Homes were reduced to ash and flame. Screams filled the air. Takumi stood frozen, facing the chaos alone. His heart pounded violently, yet he did not flee. The largest monster approached him, towering over him like a mountain. Its eyes glowed like molten lava, dripping with menace. Its fangs were longer than any man's arm. He felt a strange energy rising inside him, though no mark appeared on his body. He screamed, not out of fear, but from deep within his soul. The darkness responded to him. Shadow monster emerged from the void, massive and silent, bowed before him with unwavering loyalty. "Finally, you have called us," it said, voice shaking the earth. In that instant, Takumi understood the terrifying truth. He was not a victim of fate. He was a summoner, a master of creatures forgotten by history. His power was feared even by kings and emperors. Every monster he summoned demanded a piece of his strength. Every summoning pulled him closer to the edge of darkness. The villagers would soon call him a curse. The monsters would call him their lord. That night, the village survived. Takumi himself felt lost. He could feel his humanity beginning to fracture. He left the village quietly, without a word, without tears. Only the shadows followed him. He needed to understand the depth of his power. He had to face what he truly was before the monsters consumed him. He was not alone, though. Eyes watched him from the darkness, patient and cunning. Hunters of summoners lurked nearby. Kingdoms feared what he could become. Even gods whispered his name in fear. This journey had only just begun. The battles ahead would show no mercy. The monsters he commanded would not hesitate. His enemies would be clever and deadly. Takumi did not choose this path, but it chose him. Every step he took brought him closer to horrors beyond imagination. Every summoning tested the limits of his soul, and yet he could not stop. The world depended on him, whether he wanted it or not. If he failed, all would burn in chaos. The monsters whispered secrets of ancient power in his ears. Every shadow he called brought him closer to his destiny. Every roar he commanded echoed across the land. He was no ordinary boy. He was the one who held the balance between man and monster. If you want to see what happens next, if you want to witness the rise of forgotten beasts, follow Takumi as he fights to hold on to his humanity, subscribe now to anime stories where dark legends awaken and forgotten monsters return from the shadows. Takumi is not a hero. He is a choice. Between saving the world and being consumed by it, between light and darkness, man and monster. Every summoning pulls him further from humanity. Every command tests the limits of his soul. Shadows and monsters always watch him, always waiting for his next move. Every roar, every whisper brings him closer to his destiny. The world is changing, and so is he. And now, as darkness stirs and monsters awaken, Takumi must step into the unknown to face what awaits. Takumi stepped into the night, leaving the burning village behind. The shadows whispered secrets only he could hear. His mind raced with questions he had no answers to. Every step forward made him feel both powerful and terrified. He could sense the monsters he had summoned following silently. Not all were loyal. Some hungered for his very soul. His shadow beast stayed closest, a dark guardian of unimaginable strength. The forest seemed alive, every rustle a warning. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the trees, carrying whispers of danger. Takumi froze, sensing another presence. From the darkness, a cloaked figure emerged, moving with deadly precision. Takumi could feel the aura of a summoner hunter radiating power. The forest held its breath as the two forces faced each other. "Takumi," the figure said, voice sharp and icy. "Do you know the price of summoning monsters?" Takumi clenched his fists. "I know what it takes, and I am ready," he said with unwavering resolve. Shadows erupted around him, forming grotesque and terrifying creatures. The hunter's eyes widened. Impressive. But you will see how fragile your control is. A massive beast emerged behind the hunter, scales shimmering with black fire. Its eyes were voids of pure malice. Takumi felt a chill, but he did not flinch. He summoned another shadow monster, larger and darker than any before. Its wings spread across the forest, blotting out the moonlight. The battlefield trembled as shadow clashed with shadow. Every strike drained him further, testing his limits. The hunter moved with terrifying speed, striking at every weakness. Takumi countered with his monsters, their roars shaking the trees. Shadows collided with fire and steel, creating bursts of energy. Pain surged through Takumi, but he gritted his teeth. He could feel himself changing, his humanity slipping. The hunter smirked, sensing victory. "Your soul cannot hold this power, boy," they taunted. Takumi took a deep breath, calling upon a monster he had never dared summon before. A creature of nightmarish size and form emerged, wings stretching toward the sky. Its roar shook the forest, scattering everything in its path. The hunter faltered, realizing the magnitude of Takumi's power. The smaller shadow beasts rallied, forming a united force around him. Together, they pressed forward, relentless and terrifying. Every strike, every summon, brought Takumi closer to the edge of exhaustion, but he refused to give up. "I am Takumi," he shouted, "and I command monsters, not men." The hunter's attack struck, but the combined might of Takumi's monsters was overwhelming. Shadows engulfed the battlefield, swallowing the hunter in darkness. A deafening scream echoed as the hunter vanished into the void. Takumi stood among his beasts, panting and drained. The forest was silent once more, but the air was thick with tension. He had won, but at a cost. His body and mind were pushed beyond human limits. The monsters looked to him, loyal but demanding. He realized the truth. Power comes with a price. Every summoning weakens him, every command strains his soul, and yet he could not stop. He was the only one who could control these creatures. The world depended on him, whether he wanted it or not. From the shadows, other summoners watched silently, waiting. Kingdoms and empires feared the rise of the summoner boy.
Ow.
Even gods whispered his name in dread. Takumi knew this battle was only the beginning. The true enemies were yet to reveal themselves. He would face beings stronger than he had ever imagined, monsters older than history itself. He needed to master his power, or it would consume him entirely. Every choice mattered. Every summon could be his last. Takumi's shadow beasts circled him protectively, sensing the danger ahead. He took a deep breath, feeling the forest around him respond to his presence. His journey was far from over. The hunter had been only the first test. Greater challenges awaited in the darkness beyond. Takumi felt a surge of determination. He would become stronger, not just to survive, but to protect the balance between man and monster. His heart was heavy with the weight of responsibility. Yet excitement stirred within him, for the thrill of summoning was like no other. The forest grew darker as night deepened, alive with whispers of unseen creatures. Takumi knew he could not walk this path alone. Allies and enemies would reveal themselves in ways he could not predict. But one thing was certain: he would not run. Every monster he summoned would fight alongside him, or else he would fall. The shadows themselves seemed to bend to his will. His journey into the unknown had only begun. Takumi looked ahead, knowing the path was filled with danger. Every roar, every whisper, every shadow held a challenge. And yet, he welcomed it, for he was Takumi, summoner of monsters, and he would face whatever the darkness threw at him. The world was vast, full of threats he could not yet imagine, and he would not stop until he understood the true extent of his power. The night was alive, the shadows restless, and Takumi knew that the next trial awaited just beyond the darkness. Dawn broke over the forest, but Takumi did not feel its warmth. The night's battle had left him exhausted, yet alert. His shadow beasts moved silently around him, sensing danger. Takumi knew he had survived the first test, but the real trials were just beginning. Rumors of summoners had spread like wildfire. Kingdoms were sending hunters, mercenaries, and even rogue summoners to capture him. And ancient monsters were awakening, drawn to his power. Takumi felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He could not allow his power to fall into the wrong hands. The forest around him shifted, alive with eyes he could not see. A massive shadow tore through the trees. Takumi summoned a beast, dark and towering, to meet it head-on. The creature revealed itself to be older than history itself. Its roar shook the ground, splitting trees like paper. Takumi's shadow beast growled, ready to fight, but this was unlike any enemy before. He realized he could not rely on brute force alone. Strategy, intelligence, and instinct would be his only allies. From the sky, winged shadows descended, each one more grotesque than the last. Takumi called upon more monsters, merging their powers into one unstoppable force. The clash shook the forest, leaves torn from branches by unseen winds. "You are far from understanding your limits, boy," a voice called from the shadows. Takumi looked up and saw a figure, cloaked and regal, floating above the chaos. This was no ordinary summoner. This was a master of beasts, a legend lost to time. "Who are you?" Takumi demanded, heart pounding. "I am the one who will decide whether you survive or perish," the figure said. Without warning, monsters attacked from every direction. Takumi's shadow beasts fought fiercely, yet the numbers were overwhelming. Every strike drained him further, testing his soul and resolve. The master summoner unleashed a beast of pure shadow, twice the size of Takumi's largest summon, and Takumi gritted his teeth, pushing himself beyond human limits. He summoned a creature he had never dared call before. It emerged with wings spanning the sky, dark as the void, glowing with otherworldly energy. Its roar split the air, forcing the attacking monsters to falter. Takumi's beasts rallied, forming an impenetrable circle around him. The master summoner studied him, intrigued by his control. "Impressive," the figure said, "but are you willing to sacrifice everything?" Takumi clenched his fists, feeling exhaustion and fear clawing at him. "I will not fall," he said, voice firm. The battle intensified, shadows clashing with shadows, light piercing darkness. Takumi realized his true strength came not from the monsters themselves, but from his bond with them, the trust and understanding he had earned. He commanded them with precision, every move calculated. The master summoner's creature lunged, but Takumi's new summon met it head-on. A shockwave of energy erupted, shaking the earth. Takumi's body trembled, but he refused to yield. His monsters roared in unison, a chorus of power and loyalty. The master summoner's eyes widened, realizing Takumi's potential. "So, this is the one they call the Summoner of Shadows," the figure whispered. Takumi pressed forward, monsters at his command, striking with unparalleled force. The forest burned around them, yet Takumi moved with clarity, not fear. The master summoner finally spoke. "Your power. It is beyond anything I imagined." Takumi felt the pull of darkness threatening to consume him. Every summon brought him closer to the edge of losing himself. Yet he did not falter. His determination burned brighter than the monster's fury. He remembered the village, the lives at stake, the responsibility he carried. "I will protect them," Takumi shouted, heart steady, despite the chaos. The master summoner hesitated, realizing Takumi's resolve. With a nod, they stepped back, letting the boy's monsters advance. But the battle was far from over. Other summoners had sensed the power unleashed and were moving closer. Ancient beasts stirred, drawn to the energy that Takumi radiated. He had survived the first true test, but the world was only beginning to notice him. Shadows twisted into monstrous forms around him, each one challenging his control. Takumi's mind raced, calculating, strategizing, commanding. Every monster answered, not just to his voice, but to his will. The master summoner watched in awe, realizing Takumi might surpass even them. "You have grown stronger," the figure said quietly. But Takumi could sense the danger still looming. Every victory came with a price. Every summon drained his energy and humanity further. The forest was alive with eyes, whispers, and unseen forces. Takumi knew the path ahead would be far more dangerous. The hunter organizations would not rest. Rogue summoners would challenge him. And monsters older than time itself would awaken to test his control. Yet Takumi's resolve only grew stronger. He would face them all, and master the monsters that were both his allies and his curse. His shadow beasts circled him, ready to fight to the last breath. Takumi felt the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders. But he would not falter, for he was the summoner of shadows. Every command, every summon was a step toward mastering his destiny. He was no ordinary boy. He was the bridge between humans and monsters, between darkness and light, chaos and order. The world would soon understand the true meaning of his power, and Takumi would face trials that would push him to the brink. Yet he would endure, as he always had. His journey was far from over, and the shadows whispered of challenges yet to come. Monsters stirred in every corner of the world, sensing the rise of a new master. And now Takumi must step into the unknown once more, ready to face enemies, beasts, and powers beyond imagination. Takumi emerged from the forest, his shadow beasts at his side, ready for whatever lay ahead. The world beyond the village was vast and unknown, filled with dangers he could scarcely imagine. Rumors of the summoner boy had spread to distant kingdoms. Hunters, rogue summoners, and even kings themselves plotted to challenge him. But Takumi knew the true threats were not just human. Ancient beasts, older than history, were stirring in their hidden lairs. He felt their presence, a pull deep in the earth and sky. Mountains rumbled as dragons awoke from their slumber. Oceans churned as leviathans rose beneath the waves. And in deserts long abandoned, colossal sand titans stirred. Takumi's heart tightened. The world was awakening to his power. Every summon he called would be tested against forces far beyond anything he had faced. His shadow beasts sensed the change, growling and shifting uneasily. Takumi looked to the horizon, where storms of dark energy danced. He knew he had to move quickly, or the beasts of legend would break free uncontrolled. A new figure appeared on the ridge ahead, a summoner of unparalleled skill. Clad in armor black as midnight, their aura radiated power that rivaled Takumi's own. "So you are the boy who commands monsters," they said, voice echoing across the valley. "I will see if your power is truly worthy of the legends." Takumi's shadow beasts tensed, ready for battle. The ground itself seemed to respond, tremors pulsing with each heartbeat. Takumi drew a deep breath, knowing this fight could change everything. He summoned a beast of shadow and fire, wings stretching to blot out the sun. Its roar echoed like thunder, shaking the earth. The armored summoner unleashed a torrent of monsters, each one more grotesque than the last. Takumi's beasts met them with ferocity, the forest and plains becoming a battlefield of titans. Each strike sent shockwaves through the land. Takumi felt himself straining, pushing beyond human limits. His control was absolute, but the cost was heavy. With every summon, a part of his humanity slipped away. He clenched his fists, willing himself to endure. "I will not fall," Takumi shouted, commanding his beasts with precision. They responded as one, a unified force of darkness and loyalty. The armored summoner unleashed a shadow dragon, its scales black as night. Takumi's new summon rose to meet it, fire and shadow clashing in a spectacle of destruction. The sky turned red as monsters collided above the plains. Takumi felt the pull of darkness within him, stronger than ever. Every summon threatened to consume him, yet he refused to stop. "You cannot control this power forever, boy," the summoner taunted. Takumi's eyes burned with determination. "I am Takumi, and I will master it or die trying." His beasts roared in response, a chorus of shadow and fire. Mountains cracked, rivers boiled, and winds howled as the battle raged. The summoner's attacks were relentless, each one more cunning and deadly. Takumi countered, each summon strategically deployed, balancing offense and defense. The battlefield became a blur of claws, fangs, wings, and shadow. Takumi felt exhaustion clawing at him, yet he pressed forward. The shadow beasts fought with unwavering loyalty, sensing his resolve. He realized that his strength came not only from monsters, but from his connection to them. The armored summoner unleashed a creature unlike any seen before, a fusion of shadow and flame. Takumi hesitated, recognizing its immense power. But he summoned his final beast, one of legends, a creature of night and storm. Lightning arced from its body, shadows twisting around it like living chains. The two titans collided, shaking the very earth beneath them. Takumi's shadow beasts rallied, fighting with unmatched ferocity. Every strike, every command tested his will, pushing him to the edge. The armored summoner faltered, realizing Takumi's control and cunning. You might surpass even me," they whispered in awe. Takumi pressed forward, commanding his beasts to strike in unison. The armored summoner's legendary creature fell back, wounded and weakened. Takumi's beasts roared triumphantly, yet the victory felt hollow. The pull of darkness inside him had grown stronger, could feel it, whispering, urging him to lose control. Takumi closed his eyes, centering himself, refusing to let the darkness win. "I will control this power," he said, voice steady, despite the chaos. The battlefield fell silent for a moment, the calm before the next storm. Takumi knew this was only the beginning. Summoners, hunters, and monsters across the world were now aware of his existence. The challenges ahead would be greater, the enemies more cunning. Ancient beasts would rise, drawn to his power. Nations would send their strongest, fearing the boy who could command shadows. And within him, the darkness waited, testing his humanity. Takumi opened his eyes, determination blazing. "No matter what comes, I will not be consumed," he vowed. His shadow beasts circled him, ready for the next battle. The world was changing, and he was at the center of the storm. Every roar, every whisper, every shadow reminded him of his path. He was not just a summoner, was a master in the making, and with each challenge he would grow stronger. No, but he knew one thing: every victory came at a price. Every summon, every battle, drained a part of his soul. Yet he would endure, for the world depended on him. The armored summoner retreated, but their eyes promised a return. Takumi's gaze followed them, knowing more enemies would come. The ancient beasts he had sensed would awaken soon, and the world itself would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. He turned to his beasts, the creatures that were both his power and his curse. "We move forward," he said, voice resolute. "The journey is far from over, and the darkness is only beginning to reveal its secrets." And so, Takumi stepped into the unknown once more, ready to face monsters, summoners, and trials beyond imagination. Takumi stood atop the cliffs, wind whipping around him, shadow beasts circling protectively. The world below was stirring with chaos, kingdoms sending hunters and armies in search of him, but what he feared most were not humans. Ancient monsters, long forgotten by time, were awakening, drawn to his power. Mountains cracked as colossal dragons unfurled their wings. Oceans churned as leviathans rose from the depths. Forests trembled as titans of stone and root moved for the first time in centuries. Takumi felt the pull of their power, a call only he could hear. The shadow beasts growled, sensing the danger approaching. He closed his eyes, centering himself, knowing the next trials would push him beyond limits. From the sky, a fleet of flying beasts descended, carrying soldiers from a secret organization. The Eclipse Order, a group of elite summoner hunters, had learned of Takumi's power. They were sent to capture, contain, or eliminate him. "The boy who controls shadows has come far," a voice called from the skies. A leader of the Eclipse Order, cloaked in silver and black, descended gracefully. "You will not survive what comes next," they said, eyes glowing with intent. Takumi's shadow beasts bristled, forming a defensive circle around him. "I will survive," Takumi replied, voice steady, heart racing. Lightning cracked across the sky as Takumi summoned a colossal beast of shadow and fire. Its roar shook the earth, signaling the beginning of the battle. The Eclipse Order unleashed their creatures, monsters bred from the darkest magic. Each was stronger than anything Takumi had faced before. He felt the pull of darkness inside him whispering, tempting him to use his full power. His mind wrestled with the thought, use it all, and risk losing his humanity forever. He clenched his fists, refusing to give in. "We fight together," he commanded, shadow beasts responding instantly. The clash began with explosions of shadow and fire echoing across the mountains. Takumi's beasts fought fiercely, but the numbers were overwhelming. A massive dragon emerged from the clouds, scales glowing like molten lava. Takumi recognized it instantly, an ancient beast from legends, drawn to his summoning energy. Its roar was deafening, shaking the cliffs beneath his feet. The Eclipse Order's creatures flinched, sensing the dragon's power. Takumi knew he had to act carefully. One wrong move could cost him everything. He called upon a new summon, a creature born from darkness and lightning. Its wings spanned the sky, its eyes blazing with energy. The dragon roared again, testing Takumi's resolve. "I will not let you control me," Takumi whispered, feeling his shadow beasts rallying around him. The battle escalated, shadow against shadow, fire against fire, lightning against scale. The ground fractured beneath their feet, rivers boiling, mountains trembling. Takumi could feel the strain of maintaining control. His soul screamed with every command. Yet he refused to yield, pushing himself beyond all human limits. The leader of the Eclipse Order watched, intrigued but wary. So much power, yet such control. "Interesting," they murmured. Takumi focused, every thought, every motion, perfectly synced with his shadow beasts. The ancient dragon roared, circling above, testing him, sizing up its summoner. Takumi summoned his largest shadow beast yet, a titan of darkness and storm. It collided with the dragon midair, wings slashing through the clouds. Bolts of lightning shot across the battlefield, striking monsters from all sides. The Eclipse Order unleashed reinforcements, elite hunters descending from the sky. Takumi's beasts formed a protective barrier, shielding him from their attacks. Each summon demanded more from Takumi, testing his limits, pulling at his humanity. He gritted his teeth, refusing to let the darkness take control. "I am Takumi, summoner of shadows," he shouted, "and I will protect this world." His voice echoed across the battlefield, rallying his beasts with newfound strength. The ancient dragon let out a roar of approval, sensing his resolve. The Eclipse Order's leaders stepped forward, their aura intensifying. "You cannot win," they said, "even if the legends favor you." Takumi raised his hand, summoning a storm of shadow and lightning. His beasts roared in unison, charging the enemy with unstoppable force. The clash was monumental, shaking mountains, splitting rivers, lighting the sky with energy. Takumi realized he had grown stronger, mastering his bond with his beasts. Yet the pull of darkness inside him grew stronger than ever. One wrong move, and he could lose himself completely. He forced the thought aside, focusing on the battlefield, the monsters, the humans who could not see the danger. The Eclipse Order faltered, their creatures wounded and disoriented. The ancient dragon circled Takumi, acknowledging his strength. The leader of the Eclipse Order hesitated, realizing they had underestimated him. "You may survive," they said through clenched teeth. Takumi's shadow beasts roared in triumph, but the battle was far from over. Across the horizon, more ancient beasts stirred, sensing the rise of a new master. Nations whispered his name in fear, and summoners worldwide watched from the shadows. Takumi knew the path ahead would be the most dangerous yet. He would face monsters of legend, hunters of unparalleled skill, and a darkness within himself, yet his resolve was unshakable. Every victory came with a price, but he would endure. His shadow beasts circled him, loyal to the last breath. The world had begun to awaken to his power. Takumi's eyes burned with determination, knowing he would face the impossible. His bond with the monsters grew stronger. Every roar, every strike, every summon, a testament to his will. The Eclipse Order retreated for now, but their eyes promised they would return. The ancient dragon descended closer, its eyes meeting Takumi's with an understanding that transcended words. Takumi realized that the world had changed. There was no turning back. The ancient beasts, the hunters, and even the gods would test him. Yet he would endure, because he was the summoner of shadows. Every command, every summon, was a step toward mastering his destiny. His shadow beasts circled him, ready for whatever awaited. Takumi took a deep breath, feeling the storm of power around him. "The world is vast, filled with threats I cannot yet imagine," he whispered. "But I will face them all, and I will not fall." And so, Takumi stepped forward into a world of monsters, hunters, and legends, ready for the trials that would shape his destiny. Takumi's journey had taken him to the edge of the known world. Mountains, forests, oceans all seemed to stir in response to his power. His shadow beasts were alert, restless, sensing danger beyond anything they had faced. Far to the north, hidden from all maps, a secret organization watched. The Obsidian Circle, a global network of summoner hunters and dark mages, had risen. They controlled monsters of unimaginable strength, beasts thought to exist only in legend. Their goal was simple: capture Takumi, control his power, and dominate the world. Takumi could feel their reach, a pulse of dark energy spreading across the lands. Ancient beasts that once slumbered stirred again, sensing the new threat. Takumi's heart tightened. The stakes had grown higher than ever. He knew he could not face them alone. His shadow beasts growled, forming a protective circle around him. The Obsidian Circle's agents began striking first, summoning monsters trained for war. Takumi called forth his own beasts, matching them with precision and speed. Every strike tested his bond with them, his willpower, and his humanity. The battlefield erupted into chaos, forests burning, rivers boiling, mountains trembling. Takumi realized he would need to push himself further than ever before. "I cannot let the darkness win," he whispered, summoning a creature of shadow and lightning. It soared into the sky, colliding with a legendary griffin controlled by the Obsidian Circle. Sparks and shadows rained down, tearing the landscape apart. Takumi felt the pull within him growing stronger, a darkness threatening to consume his mind. He shook it off, focusing on the battlefield, commanding his monsters with clarity. From the clouds, a colossal dragon, bound in chains of dark magic, descended. Its roar shook Takumi to his core. He realized this was one of the Obsidian Circle's ultimate beasts. Summoning all his courage, Takumi called upon a monster of pure night, wings spanning the horizon. The two titans collided, energy surging across the skies. Lightning, shadow, fire, and claw tore the mountains apart. Takumi's shadow beasts fought fiercely, protecting him and striking the enemy with deadly precision. Yet each summon pulled at his humanity, threatening to overwhelm him entirely. He gritted his teeth, feeling exhaustion and fear clawing at him. "I am Takumi, summoner of shadows," he shouted, "and I will not be controlled." The Obsidian Circle's leaders advanced, their aura radiating overwhelming power. "Your time is up, boy," one of them said, voice like steel. Takumi's eyes glowed, a storm of determination blazing within. He called forth a new beast, one born from the deepest shadows of his soul. Its wings spread wide, its roar shaking the heavens. Even the ancient dragon recoiled, sensing the strength of this summon. Takumi felt the darkness inside him, whispering, tempting him to unleash all his power. "No," he whispered firmly, "I will not let it take me." He commanded his beasts, each one attacking with flawless synchronization. The Obsidian Circle's creatures faltered, unable to match the unity and willpower of Takumi's monsters. The leader of the Circle's elite hunters watched, eyes narrowing. So much power, yet such restraint, they muttered, impressed despite themselves. Takumi's shadow beasts roared in unison, a wave of energy washing over the battlefield. The chains binding the dragon shattered, and it paused, recognizing Takumi as a true master. One by one, the other monsters stopped attacking, sensing his dominance and control. Takumi stood amidst the chaos, panting, drained yet unbroken. He realized the truth. His strength was not just in summoning monsters. It was in the bond he shared with them, his ability to control and protect rather than destroy. The Obsidian Circle retreated for now, but their eyes promised vengeance. Ancient beasts stirred in the shadows, more powerful than ever, drawn to the world's new balance. Takumi knew he could not rest. The darkness inside him had grown stronger. The line between man and monster blurred. But he would endure, mastering his power while holding on to his humanity. His shadow beasts circled him, loyal to the last breath. Nations across the world would soon learn the name Takumi, the summoner of shadows, yet he knew the obsidian circle would not stop until they controlled him or destroyed him. Across the horizon, other ancient beasts stirred, sensing a master who could challenge them. Takumi clenched his fists, feeling the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders. Every victory came with a price. Every summon tested his soul. Yet he refused to yield. "I will face them all," he whispered, "no matter how strong, no matter how many." The obsidian circle would rise again, bringing monsters and hunters beyond imagination. Takumi's shadow beasts roared in unison, a promise of loyalty and strength. He would not fall. He was the bridge between humanity and monsters, darkness and light, and the next battle would define his destiny. Across the lands, whispers of his power spread, alerting summoners, hunters, and ancient creatures alike. Takumi's journey was far from over. The world had only begun to challenge him. The obsidian circle's reach extended into every corner, plotting, watching, waiting. Yet Takumi's resolve burned brighter than ever. He could feel the storm of monsters, humans, and ancient powers rising all around him. His shadow beasts moved as one, ready for the next confrontation. Every roar, every whisper, every shadow reminded him of the trials yet to come. He was no ordinary boy. He was the master of shadows, a summoner of monsters beyond legend. The world would test him, but he would endure. His humanity was fragile, but it was what gave him strength. Every battle, every summon, every monster was a step toward mastering his destiny. Takumi raised his head, looking to the horizon. The obsidian circle, ancient beasts, and unknown threats awaited. Yet he felt a surge of determination unlike ever before. "I will face them all," he whispered, "and I will not be consumed by darkness." The wind carried the cries of monsters and whispers of humans alike. Takumi's shadow beasts circled him, ready to fight, ready to protect. The world was vast, filled with challenges beyond imagination. And Takumi knew that the next trial would test everything: his power, his humanity, and his will. But he stepped forward, unbroken, ready to face the darkness that awaited him. The horizon burned red as the sun rose over a world on the brink of chaos. Takumi stood at the edge of the battlefield, shadow beasts circling him like a living fortress. Across the lands, the obsidian circle unleashed their full force, summoning monsters of legend and nightmare. The ground shook as ancient beasts awoke from their slumber, drawn to Takumi's power. Mountains crumbled, rivers boiled, and storms tore across the plains. Takumi's heart pounded, feeling the weight of the world pressing down. He could sense every monster, every hunter, every hidden summoner watching him. His shadow beasts growled, sensing the danger that approached from all sides. The sky darkened as colossal dragons descended, their eyes glowing with ancient power. Leviathans emerged from the oceans, waves crashing with deadly force. Titans of stone and root moved across the forests, shaking the earth beneath their massive feet. Takumi took a deep breath, feeling the darkness inside him stirring. Every summon drew him closer to losing control, yet he could not stop. "I must master this power, or I will be consumed," he whispered, called forth a creature of pure shadow, larger than anything he had ever summoned. Its wings blotted out the sun, its roar shaking the mountains. The obsidian circle's leader appeared, floating above the battlefield, radiating power like a god. "You have grown strong, Takumi," they said, "but not strong enough to survive us all." Takumi's eyes burned with determination, refusing to yield. "Will not fall," he shouted, his voice echoing across the world. His shadow beasts roared in unison, charging at the enemy with unstoppable force. Collisions of titanic monsters shook the land, fire, shadow, and lightning tearing the battlefield apart. Takumi felt the pull of darkness inside him, whispering to unleash everything. He clenched his fists, holding back, focusing on control and strategy. "I am not a monster," he whispered. "I am the summoner of shadows." His beasts fought in perfect unison, every strike coordinated with his will. Across the skies, dragons clashed with shadow titans, lightning igniting the clouds. Leviathans battled titans of stone, rivers boiling around them. Takumi dodged attacks from hunters and rogue summoners, commanding his beasts with flawless precision. Each summon pulled at his soul, threatening to take him over. He gritted his teeth, refusing to succumb. "I will survive and master this power," he shouted. No? The Obsidian Circle's leader unleashed a creature of darkness, scales shimmering like black fire. Takumi responded, summoning a storm-born beast, shadow and lightning merging into one. The titans collided midair, shaking the world below. Mountains split, forests fell, and rivers boiled, yet Takumi stood firm, commanding his beasts. The Obsidian Circle's forces began to falter, sensing Takumi's strength and control. "Impossible. He's controlling all of them," one hunter shouted. Takumi felt exhaustion crushing him, his humanity slipping, but he refused to stop. "I am Takumi," he whispered to himself, "and I will not be consumed." The battlefield erupted as shadow, fire, and lightning collided with dragons, leviathans, and titans. Takumi's beasts moved like a single entity, every command precise, every strike deadly. The Obsidian Circle's leader's eyes narrowed, realizing Takumi's potential. "The boy of shadows may surpass even the legends," they murmured. The leader unleashed a new monster, a fusion of fire, shadow, and lightning, more powerful than any before. Takumi's eyes glowed, summoning his ultimate beast, born from darkness and storm. The two monsters clashed, shaking the world, energy erupting across the battlefield. Takumi's beasts roared, striking in perfect harmony, overwhelming the enemy forces. Yet he could feel the darkness inside him, clawing at his mind, threatening to take over. "I must control it, or I will become what I fight against," he whispered. The battle raged for hours, the world itself trembling under the power unleashed. Takumi's connection with his beasts deepened, every movement synchronized, every attack precise. The Obsidian Circle's leader realized they underestimated him, their aura faltering. Takumi pushed himself further, summoning more power, holding on to his humanity by sheer will. Dragons fell, leviathans retreated, titans crumbled under the combined might of Takumi's summons. The battlefield was littered with the remnants of legendary monsters, yet Takumi stood unbroken. The Obsidian Circle's leader retreated, eyes burning with both respect and vengeance. "We are not finished. We will return," they shouted, disappearing into shadows. Takumi stood amidst the chaos, exhausted yet resolute. He had survived the greatest battle of his life. Ancient beasts acknowledged his strength, some bowing before him, others retreating. The world had begun to recognize the summoner of shadows. Yet Takumi knew the war was far from over. More monsters would awaken. More summoners would challenge him. The Obsidian Circle would return stronger than ever, and the darkness inside him would continue to test his humanity. Takumi's shadow beasts circled him, loyal and fierce. He could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. Every victory came at a cost. Every summon drained a piece of his soul. Yet he would endure, mastering both monsters and himself. He was no ordinary boy. He was the bridge between humans and monsters, light and darkness. The battlefield was silent, yet Takumi could feel eyes watching, waiting. The world would continue to challenge him. Monsters would rise, and summoners would attack. He knew the next trial would be even greater, yet Takumi's resolve burned brighter than ever. "I will face them all," he whispered, "and I will not fall." The wind carried the roars of monsters and whispers of humans alike. Takumi's shadow beasts stood ready, prepared for the next battle. The world had changed, and Takumi was at its center. Every monster, every whisper, every shadow reminded him of the trials yet to come. He was no ordinary summoner. He was the master of shadows, a legend in the making. The next battle would decide the fate of both man and monster. Takumi raised his hand, summoning the storm of shadow and lightning once more. The Obsidian Circle would return, more powerful and cunning. Ancient beasts would awaken in greater numbers, sensing his growing strength. Yet Takumi's will was unbreakable, so he stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face the ultimate test of power, humanity, and destiny. The sky burned crimson as Takumi stood at the heart of the ruined plains. The world trembled under the presence of forces older than humanity itself. Ancient beasts, forgotten by time, had awakened, drawn to Takumi's power. Mountains shattered as colossal dragons descended, their roars shaking the clouds. Oceans churned violently as leviathans broke free from their deep prisons. The ground cracked as titans of stone, root, and flame marched toward him. Takumi's shadow beasts circled him, sensing the magnitude of the battle ahead. The obsidian circle appeared en masse, their leader radiating unmatched power. "This is the end, Takumi," the leader declared, voice echoing like thunder. "We will control every monster, and your power will belong to us." Takumi's fists clenched. His heart raced, every fiber of his being alert. "I will not let you," he shouted, summoning a storm of shadow and lightning. His ultimate beast emerged, wings dark as the void, eyes glowing with pure energy. The battle erupted instantly, energy colliding with earth-shattering force. Dragons clashed with shadow titans, lightning streaking across the battlefield. Ice. Leviathans crashed against titans of stone, oceans rising in waves of chaos. The Obsidian Circle's army of monsters struck in perfect formation, relentless and deadly. Takumi commanded his shadow beasts with unmatched precision, every strike coordinated. Yet he felt the darkness within him stir, whispering promises of limitless power. "Unleash everything. Become the master of monsters," it hissed. Takumi's eyes burned. He knew if he gave in, he would lose himself forever. He gritted his teeth, forcing the darkness back, relying on control rather than sheer force. "I am Takumi," he shouted, "and I will master this power without losing myself." The ultimate beast roared, striking a colossal dragon midair, energy exploding like a sun. Titans clashed on the ground, earthquakes rippling through valleys and plains. Takumi's shadow beasts fought with loyalty and ferocity, forming an unbreakable shield around him. Obsidian Circle's leader unleashed their most powerful creature yet, a fusion of shadow, fire, and lightning. Its roar split the sky, forcing Takumi's beasts to defend with every ounce of strength. Takumi felt his body straining, his humanity hanging by a thread. "I will not fall to darkness," he shouted, summoning another legendary beast. The two colossal monsters collided midair, a storm of shadow and energy consuming the horizon. Lightning, fire, and shadow tore across the battlefield, shaking the earth itself. Takumi's shadow beasts roared, striking the enemy forces with perfect synchronization. Ancient dragons and titans faltered, sensing Takumi's control and dominance. The Obsidian Circle's leader narrowed their eyes, realizing Takumi's potential exceeded even their expectations. "Impossible. He has become the master of monsters himself," they whispered. Takumi felt the darkness surge inside him, stronger than ever, testing every ounce of his will. "I will control you, or I will perish trying," he muttered, standing tall despite exhaustion. Shadow and lightning swirled around him, his beasts forming a protective wall of immense power. Dragons collided with titans, leviathans battled shadow monsters, the sky and earth trembling from the clash. Takumi called upon his ultimate summon, a being of pure night, storm, and fire, wings spanning the horizon. It roared, a sound that echoed across continents, asserting its dominance. The Obsidian Circle's army faltered, their creatures overwhelmed by the combined might of Takumi's beasts. Takumi's eyes glowed, controlling the battlefield with unshakable precision. "I will not be consumed. I will master this power," he shouted, heart blazing. The Obsidian Circle's leader's aura faltered, realizing they were facing a being beyond legend. One by one, their ultimate beasts were defeated or forced to retreat, unable to match Takumi's control. Ancient dragons paused, recognizing the true master of shadows standing before them. The storm around Takumi intensified, lightning striking the battlefield like divine judgment. Yet inside him, the darkness clawed at his soul, whispering to take control completely. Takumi gritted his teeth, holding on to his humanity with sheer force of will. "I am not a monster," he shouted, commanding every shadow, every beast, every strike. His shadow beasts surged forward, striking with unmatched ferocity. The battlefield was a maelstrom of energy, shadow, fire, and lightning, shaking the world to its core. The Obsidian Circle's leader retreated, their aura diminished, but their eyes burning with promise of revenge. Takumi stood amidst the ruins, panting, drained, yet unbroken. He had faced the ultimate challenge and survived, mastering his power while holding on to his humanity. Ancient beasts bowed in respect, acknowledging him as a true master of monsters. Yet he knew this was only the beginning of an even greater journey. The world had changed. Monsters, humans, and summoners would never be the same again. Takumi's shadow beasts circled him, loyal and fierce, ready for the next trial. He had survived the ultimate battle, but the darkness within him remained, a constant test of will. The obsidian circle would return, stronger and more cunning than ever. Ancient beasts yet unseen stirred, sensing the rise of a master who could challenge them. Takumi took a deep breath, feeling the storm of energy around him. Every victory had a price. Every summon drained a piece of his soul, yet he would endure, mastering both monsters and himself. He was no ordinary boy. He was the bridge between humans and monsters, shadow and light, chaos and order. Every step forward brought him closer to mastering his destiny. The world watched silently, aware of the summoner whose power rivaled legends. Takumi knew the next trials would be even greater. More ancient beasts would awaken, drawn to his power, or summoners would challenge him, seeking control or destruction. The obsidian circle would rise again, bringing unimaginable power to the battlefield. Yet Takumi's resolve burned brighter than ever. He would not fall. He would not be consumed. His shadow beasts stood by his side, ready to face the next storm. The world had changed, and Takumi was at its center. Every monster, every whisper, every shadow reminded him of the trials yet to come. He was the summoner of shadows, a master beyond legend. And the next battle would decide the fate of humanity, monsters, and the balance of the world itself. Takumi's eyes burned with determination, his shadow beasts circling, ready to strike. The obsidian circle's presence lingered, a promise of war yet to come. Ancient dragons and titans watched silently, acknowledging his power. Takumi took a deep breath, feeling the weight of destiny pressing down. Every summon, every command, every strike would shape the future. The world was vast, filled with threats he could not yet imagine. Yet Takumi's will was unbreakable, his bond with monsters stronger than ever. And so he stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face the ultimate trials of power, darkness, and destiny. The world trembled as the horizon turned black with the approach of ancient beasts. Takumi stood at the center of a ruined valley, shadow beasts forming an impenetrable circle around him. The obsidian circle had gathered every monster under their control, forming an army beyond imagination. Dragons of shadow and fire, leviathans of the oceans, titans of stone and root hall converged on him. Takumi's heart pounded. The ultimate test of his power and humanity was upon him. His shadow beasts growled, sensing the enormity of the threat, their loyalty unwavering. The leader of the obsidian circle descended, their aura radiating darkness that could swallow the sun. Takumi, this is the end, the leader said, voice echoing like the crack of doom. Submit, or be consumed by the power you cannot control. Takumi's fists clenched, every fiber of his being alert. I will not submit, he shouted, summoning a storm-born beast of shadow and lightning. The battlefield erupted instantly, fire, shadow, and lightning clashing with catastrophic force. Mountains cracked, rivers boiled, forests shattered, the world itself groaned under the chaos. Ancient dragons descended from the sky. Leviathans erupted from the seas. Titans thundered across the plains. Takumi's shadow beasts fought in perfect harmony, countering every strike with precision. The obsidian circle unleashed their ultimate fusion beast, a monstrous amalgamation of shadow, fire, and storm. Its roar split the heavens, challenging Takumi directly. He felt the darkness surge inside him, clawing at his mind, urging him to use everything he had. I cannot lose control. I must not become a monster, he whispered, sweat dripping down his face. Takumi's eyes blazed with determination. He refused to yield. He summoned his ultimate creature, a being of pure night, lightning and fire, wings stretching across the sky. The two colossal monsters collided, sending shockwaves that shattered mountains. Takumi's shadow beasts surged forward, striking with synchronized fury, overwhelming the obsidian circle's army. The battle escalated beyond comprehension. Lightning, shadow, fire, and scale consumed the valley. Takumi felt his humanity slipping as the pull of darkness intensified, whispering promises of infinite power. Take it. Take everything. Become the master of monsters. It hissed inside his mind. He clutched his chest, fighting the pull, refusing to give in. I am Takumi. I will master this power without losing myself, he shouted, voice carrying across the world. His ultimate beast roared in approval, energy surging outward like a second sun. Dragons faltered, leviathans recoiled, titans stumbled, sensing the control and power of Takumi's will. The Obsidian Circle's leader unleashed a torrent of spells and monsters, a final, desperate attack. Takumi's beasts formed a protective barrier, intercepting every strike with flawless precision. He summoned lightning and shadow simultaneously, creating a storm that engulfed the enemy. The fusion beast of the Obsidian Circle clashed with Takumi's ultimate summon midair, energy erupting like stars exploding. Takumi could feel the darkness clawing at his soul harder than ever. I can feel it, taking over, he whispered, trembling. But he closed his eyes, centering himself, connecting with his shadow beasts, grounding his humanity. I am not a monster. I am Takumi, he shouted, breaking free of the darkness within. His beasts roared in unison, striking with unstoppable force, overwhelming the fusion beast. The ultimate clash shook the world. Mountains crumbled, oceans surged, the sky split with lightning. Takumi's shadow beasts surrounded the fusion beast, striking together until it collapsed, defeated. The Obsidian Circle's army began to retreat, their morale broken, their ultimate plan failing. The leader of the circle hovered above, staring at Takumi in disbelief and respect. You are beyond any legend, they muttered, retreating into shadows with the remnants of their army. Takumi fell to his knees, panting, drained, yet victorious. Ancient dragons and titans bowed, recognizing him as the true master of shadows. 8. The storm subsided, leaving silence and ruin in its wake. Takumi's shadow beast circled him, loyal and alive, a testament to his control and humanity. He looked at the horizon, knowing that threats would always exist, but he had survived the ultimate trial. Inside him, the darkness remained, but now he had mastered it, wielding it without being consumed. I am Takumi, he whispered, voice steady. Summoner of shadows, protector of monsters, guardian of humanity. The world had changed forever. Monsters and humans alike recognized his power and balance. Takumi stood, shadow beasts at his side, ready for whatever new trials would come. Every victory, every summon, every battle had brought him to this moment. He had faced the ultimate test and emerged unbroken. Ancient beasts returned to their lairs, dragons soaring back into the skies, leviathans diving into oceans, titans vanishing into forests. The Obsidian Circle had retreated, but their eyes promised a return one day. Takumi's journey was far from over. The world would continue to challenge him, yet now he had mastered himself, his power, and his bond with his shadow beasts. Humanity, monsters, and the balance of the world were safe. For now, Takumi's shadow beasts roared one final time, their voices echoing across the lands. He felt the weight of destiny on his shoulders, yet his resolve burned brighter than ever. Every step forward was a promise. He would face all threats, protect all monsters, and never lose himself again. The world had witnessed the rise of a true legend. Takumi looked to the horizon, eyes blazing. I will continue. No matter what comes, he whispered. His shadow beasts formed a circle around him, wings spread, claws sharp, eyes glowing. The Obsidian Circle, ancient beasts and humans alike, would remember this day forever. Takumi had become more than a summoner. He had become a force of balance, shadow, and light. And though the battles would come again, he would face them with courage and control. Takumi's journey was far from over, but he had proven that power could be mastered without losing humanity. His shadow beasts nuzzled him in loyalty, a silent acknowledgement of their bond. The ruins of the battlefield glowed faintly under the rising sun. Dragons soared high, titans returned to forests, leviathans dived into the deep. Takumi breathed deeply, feeling every life, every monster, every being around him. The darkness was no longer a threat. It was a tool, a part of him, under his control. I am ready, he whispered, for whatever comes next. The wind carried the roars of monsters, whispers of humans, and the echoes of legends. Takumi's shadow beasts circled him, a living testament to loyalty, power, and control. The world had witnessed the ultimate battle, and Takumi had emerged victorious. Yet he knew the horizon always held new challenges. Ancient monsters still slept, summoners still schemed, the obsidian circle still lurked. But Takumi was ready, stronger than ever, master of monsters and shadows. His heart remained human, his mind sharp, his power unparalleled. He had faced darkness, temptation, and the impossible and endured. Takumi's shadow beasts roared one last time, echoing across continents. He stood tall, eyes glowing with determination, ready to protect the world. "I am Takumi," he whispered, "and I will never fall, no matter the challenge." The world had changed forever. Monsters, humans, and shadows alike knew his name. And so, the legend of Takumi, the summoner of shadows, was sealed, a story of power, humanity, and destiny.